Trenchant. Vigorous or incisive in expression or style. Incisive. Sharp. Keen. Penetrating. Trenchant commentary. The critic's trenchant commentary on the play was both admired and feared. His incisive observations and sharp critiques left a lasting impact. His keen insights and penetrating analysis revealed the strengths and weaknesses of the performance. This real-life example shows the power of trenchant feedback. Have you ever received or given trenchant feedback? How did it influence the situation? Share your story. Tongue-in-cheek. With ironic or flippant intent. Sarcastic. Ironic. Playful. Mocking. Tongue-in-cheek humor. Sarah's tongue-in-cheek humor was legendary among her friends. Her sarcastic remarks and ironic jokes always lightened the mood. She had a playful way of delivering her lines, and her mocking wit was never taken seriously. This real-life example shows how tongue-in-cheek humor can bring laughter. Have you ever used or encountered tongue-in-cheek humor? What was the reaction? Share your story. Potent. Having great power, influence, or effect. Powerful. Strong. Forceful. Mighty. The potent elixir. The ancient potion was known for its potent effects. This powerful elixir could heal wounds and restore energy. Its strong ingredients made it highly sought after. The forceful impact of a single drop was mighty and miraculous. This real-life example shows the allure of potent remedies. Have you ever encountered something potent? How did it make a difference? Share your story. Unabated. Without any reduction in intensity or strength. Persistent. Unrelenting. Continuous. Steady. Unabated determination. Emily pursued her dreams with unabated determination. Her persistent efforts and unrelenting drive led to continuous progress. Her journey was marked by steady achievements, each one bringing her closer to her goals. This real-life example shows the power of unabated persistence. Have you ever pursued something with unabated determination? What was the outcome? Share your story. Maudlin. Self-pityingly or tearfully sentimental. Sentimental. Mawkish. Over-emotional. Weepy. A maudlin memory. At the reunion, John became maudlin, reminiscing about the past. His sentimental stories and mawkish anecdotes brought tears to his eyes. He was over-emotional, sharing weepy memories with his old friends. This real-life example shows how maudlin moments can bring people closer. Have you ever experienced a maudlin moment? What triggered it and how did it affect you? Share your story. Levity. Humor or frivolity, especially the treatment of a serious matter with humor or in a manner lacking due respect. Lightness. Frivolity. Mirth. Amusement. Levity in the office. Despite the serious deadline, John's levity brought a lightness to the office. His jokes added a touch of frivolity, turning stress into mirth. The team appreciated his sense of amusement, which kept the atmosphere positive. This real-life example shows how levity can diffuse tension in high-pressure situations. Have you ever used or encountered levity to lighten a serious situation? How did it help? Share your story. Lugubrious. Looking or sounding sad and dismal. Mournful. Gloomy. Melancholy. Sorrowful. A lugubrious day. The rainy weather matched the lugubrious mood of the town after the loss of their beloved mayor. The mournful faces, gloomy skies, and melancholy atmosphere were palpable. Despite the sorrowful day, the community found solace in each other's company. This real-life example shows how lugubrious moments can bring people together. Have you ever experienced a lugubrious day? What helped you cope? Share your story. Indoctrinate. Teach a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Brainwash. Inculcate. Instruct. Condition. Indoctrinated youth. The new regime aimed to indoctrinate the youth with their ideology. Schools were used to brainwash and inculcate the young minds. Instructors were tasked to teach and condition the children to accept the beliefs without question. This real-life example shows the impact of indoctrination on society. Have you ever known someone who was indoctrinated? How did it affect their perspectives? Share your story. Opulence. Great wealth or luxuriousness. Wealth. Richness. Luxury. Affluence. The opulent mansion. The opulent mansion on the hill was a symbol of wealth and affluence. Its grand halls were filled with luxury and richness, showcasing the owner's immense prosperity. This real-life example highlights the allure of opulence. Have you ever visited or known of a place marked by opulence? What was it like? Share your story. Obsequious. Obedient or attentive to an excessive or servile degree. Fawning. Submissive. Servile. Sycophantic. The obsequious assistant. The new assistant's obsequious behavior was evident in every interaction. Her fawning manner and submissive attitude were designed to please her boss. Despite her servile approach, it came across as sycophantic to her colleagues. This real-life example shows the drawbacks of being overly obsequious. Have you ever dealt with someone obsequious? How did it affect your interactions? Share your story. Fulsome. Complimentary or flattering to an excessive degree. Overly flattering. Excessive. Lavish. Extravagant. The fulsome praise. Tom's fulsome praise for his boss was apparent during the meeting. His overly flattering comments were seen as excessive. While his intention was to be lavish with compliments, it came across as extravagant and insincere. This real-life example highlights the pitfalls of fulsome praise. Have you ever given or received fulsome praise? How was it perceived? Share your story. Two strings to one's bow. Having more than one way to achieve an aim. Multiple skills. Versatile options. Backup plan. Extra resources. Two strings to her bow. Emma had two strings to her bow, she was a talented engineer and a skilled musician. Her multiple skills allowed her to switch careers when needed. With versatile options and a backup plan, she navigated life's challenges effortlessly. This real-life example shows the importance of having two strings to one's bow. Do you have more than one string to your bow? How has it helped you? Share your story. Lush. Growing luxuriantly. Abundant. Thriving. Verdant. Rich. The lush garden. Sarah's garden was lush with vibrant flowers and green plants. The abundant growth was a testament to her care. Each corner was thriving with life, creating a verdant and rich environment. This real-life example shows the beauty of a lush garden. Have you ever tended to a lush garden? What made it special? Share your story. Destitution. Poverty so extreme that one lacks the means to provide for oneself. Poverty. Deprivation. Hardship. Want. From destitution to success. Mark's journey from destitution to success was inspirational. Born into poverty, he faced deprivation and hardship. Through perseverance, he overcame want and built a successful business. This real-life example shows the resilience required to overcome destitution. Have you ever known someone who rose from destitution? What was their journey like? Share your story. Ponder. Think about something carefully, especially before making a decision or reaching a conclusion. Consider. Contemplate. Reflect. Mull over. Pondering the decision. Jane spent days pondering her career change. She considered all the pros and cons, taking time to contemplate every aspect. Her reflections helped her make an informed choice, mulling over each possibility. This real-life example shows the value of pondering important decisions. Have you ever had to ponder a significant decision? How did you approach it? Share your story. Supplication. The action of asking or begging for something earnestly or humbly. Plea. Petition. Entreaty. Appeal. A heartfelt supplication. Tom's heartfelt supplication for help moved everyone. His earnest plea and humble petition highlighted his desperate need. His entreaty was met with support, and his appeal did not go unanswered. This real-life example shows the power of sincere supplication. Have you ever made a supplication? How was it received? Share your story. Decadence. Moral or cultural decline as characterized by excessive indulgence in pleasure or luxury. Decay. Deterioration. Decline. Degeneration. The decadent era. The city's history was marked by a period of decadence. The excessive indulgence in luxury led to moral decay and cultural deterioration. This decline was evident in the lavish lifestyle and overall degeneration of societal values. This real-life example shows the consequences of unchecked decadence. Have you ever studied or observed an era of decadence? What were the key features? Share your story. Tenterhooks. In a state of suspense or anxiety. Anxious. Nervous. Tense. Agitated. On tenterhooks. Sarah was on tenterhooks as she waited for her college acceptance letter. The anxious days were filled with nervous tension, making her feel constantly agitated. Finally, the letter arrived, bringing an end to the suspense. This real-life example shows how being on tenterhooks can affect our daily lives. Have you ever been on tenterhooks waiting for something important? How did you cope? Share your story. Penance. Voluntary self-punishment inflicted as an outward expression of repentance for having done wrong. Atonement. Reparation. Remorse. Self-discipline. A journey of penance. After making a grave mistake, Tom decided to embark on a journey of penance. His actions were an atonement for his wrongdoings, filled with reparation efforts. The remorse he felt drove him towards self-discipline and betterment. This real-life example shows the transformative power of penance. Have you ever taken steps towards penance for something you regretted? What was the process like? Share your story. Ascetic. Characterized by severe self-discipline and abstention from all forms of indulgence, typically for religious reasons. Austere. Monastic. Abstinent. Spartan. The ascetic monk. The ascetic monk lived a life of austere simplicity. His monastic existence was marked by abstinence from all luxuries. He embraced a Spartan lifestyle, finding peace in self-discipline. This real-life example shows the dedication required for an ascetic life. Have you ever practiced or known someone who practiced an ascetic lifestyle? How did it affect them? Share your story. Desultory. Lacking a plan, purpose, or enthusiasm. Aimless. Erratic. Haphazard. Random. The desultory wanderer. Jack's desultory wanderings took him across the city without a clear goal. His aimless journeys were marked by erratic changes and haphazard stops. The random exploration, though lacking purpose, brought unexpected joys. This real-life example shows the beauty in desultory adventures. Have you ever had a desultory experience? What did you discover? Share your story. Disciple. A follower or student of a teacher, leader, or philosopher. Follower. Adherent. Pupil. Devotee. The loyal disciple. John was a loyal disciple of his mentor. As a devoted follower, he adhered to his teacher's principles. His role as a pupil was marked by dedication, and he became a true devotee of the teachings. This real-life example shows the bond between a disciple and their mentor. Have you ever been a disciple or known one? How did it impact your learning? Share your story. Metamorphosis. A change of the form or nature of a thing or person into a completely different one, by natural or supernatural means. Transformation. Change. Conversion. Transmutation. The metamorphosis. The caterpillar's metamorphosis into a butterfly was a wondrous transformation. The change was gradual, but the conversion was spectacular. This natural transmutation from a crawling insect to a flying beauty left everyone in awe. This real-life example shows the magic of metamorphosis. Have you ever witnessed a metamorphosis, literal or figurative? What was it like? Share your story. The fat is in the fire. Serious trouble is imminent. Trouble brewing. Crisis impending. Danger looming. Problem coming. The fat is in the fire. When the company leaked confidential information, everyone knew the fat was in the fire. Trouble was brewing, and a crisis was impending. With danger looming, the team prepared for the inevitable problems. This real-life example shows how critical situations can escalate quickly. Have you ever been in a situation where the fat was in the fire? How did you handle it? Share your story. Bona fide. Genuine, real. Authentic. Legitimate. True. Sincere. A bona fide success. Sarah's bona fide success in the business world was a result of her hard work. Her achievements were authentic and legitimate, reflecting her true dedication. This sincere effort led to recognition and respect. This real-life example shows the impact of bona fide accomplishments. Have you ever experienced or witnessed bona fide success? What made it genuine? Share your story. Salvation. Preservation or deliverance from harm, ruin, or loss. Redemption. Deliverance. Rescue. Liberation. A path to salvation. Mark found salvation in his community's support. Their efforts led to his redemption from a troubled past. The deliverance he experienced felt like a rescue, bringing liberation from his struggles. This real-life example shows the power of finding salvation. Have you ever found or witnessed a path to salvation? How did it transform the situation? Share your story. Materialism. A tendency to consider material possessions and physical comfort as more important than spiritual values. Consumerism. Greed. Acquisition. Worldliness. The trap of materialism. Jane fell into the trap of materialism, constantly seeking new possessions. Her consumerism and greed overshadowed spiritual values. The acquisition of goods led to worldliness, but left her feeling empty. This real-life example shows the pitfalls of materialism. Have you ever struggled with or observed materialism? How did it affect perspectives? Share your story. Nurture. Care for and encourage the growth or development of. Foster. Cultivate. Support. Nourish. Nurturing talent. Emily's parents worked hard to nurture her musical talent. They fostered her skills with lessons, cultivated her passion, and provided constant support. Their efforts to nourish her development led to her becoming a celebrated musician. This real-life example shows the importance of nurturing potential. Have you ever nurtured a talent or known someone who did? How did it flourish? Share your story. Nirvana. A state of perfect happiness, an ideal or idyllic place. Bliss. Euphoria. Ecstasy. Paradise. Journey to nirvana. Emma's journey to spiritual nirvana was filled with meditation and reflection. She reached a state of bliss, where euphoria and ecstasy filled her days. Her soul felt at peace in her own paradise. This real-life example shows the fulfillment of achieving nirvana. Have you ever experienced a moment of nirvana or complete bliss? What brought it on? Share your story. Like Caesar's wife. To be above suspicion, to be beyond reproach. Impeccable. Unquestionable. Faultless. Unsullied. Like Caesar's wife. Jane was always like Caesar's wife when it came to her professional integrity. Her impeccable conduct and unquestionable honesty made her beyond reproach. She maintained a faultless and unsullied reputation at work. This real-life example shows the importance of being above suspicion. Have you ever aimed to be above suspicion in a certain aspect of life? How did you achieve it? Share your story. Juxtapose. To place or deal with close together for contrasting effect. Compare. Contrast. Align. Place side by side. Juxtaposing ideas. The artist's work juxtaposed modern and classical elements. By comparing different styles, she created a unique contrast. Aligning these concepts side by side made her pieces captivating. This real-life example shows the power of juxtaposition in art. Have you ever juxtaposed ideas or elements to highlight their differences? What was the outcome? Share your story. Plight. A dangerous, difficult, or otherwise unfortunate situation. Predicament. Dilemma. Trouble. Ordeal. The refugees' plight. The refugees' plight was heart-wrenching. Their predicament forced them to flee their homes, facing dilemmas and troubles along the way. This ordeal highlighted the need for humanitarian aid. This real-life example shows the severity of plight in crisis situations. Have you ever known or witnessed someone in a plight? How did it impact you? Share your story. Covert. Not openly acknowledged or displayed. Secret. Hidden. Undercover. Concealed. Covert operations. The spy's covert operations were critical to the mission. His secret maneuvers and hidden tactics helped gather crucial information. Working undercover, he stayed concealed from the enemy. This real-life example shows the necessity of covert actions in espionage. Have you ever been involved in or known about covert operations? What was the experience like? Share your story. Cope. To deal effectively with something difficult. Manage. Handle. Deal with. Tackle. Coping with stress. Jane learned to cope with stress through meditation and exercise. She managed her workload effectively, handling challenges with grace. By dealing with obstacles calmly, she tackled stress head-on. This real-life example shows the importance of coping mechanisms. Do you have any effective ways to cope with stress? How do they help you? Share your story. Incompatibility. The inability of two things to coexist or work together. Conflict. Discord. Disagreement. Mismatch. Incompatibility at work. Mark and Lisa's incompatibility made collaboration difficult. Their conflicting approaches and constant discord led to frequent disagreements. This mismatch of work styles affected their productivity. This real-life example shows the challenges of incompatibility in team settings. Have you ever faced incompatibility with someone? How did you handle it? Share your story. Plea bargain. An agreement in a criminal case where the defendant pleads guilty to a lesser charge in exchange for a more lenient sentence. Agreement. Deal. Settlement. Arrangement. The plea bargain. To avoid a lengthy trial, Tom accepted a plea bargain. This agreement allowed him to plead guilty to a lesser charge. The deal led to a settlement, resulting in a more lenient sentence. This real-life example shows the strategic use of plea bargains in the legal system. Have you ever known someone who entered a plea bargain? What were the outcomes? Share your story. Incapacitated. Deprived of strength or power, debilitated. Disabled. Immobilized. Weakened. Paralyzed. Incapacitated hero. After the accident, the firefighter was temporarily incapacitated. His injuries left him disabled and immobilized. Despite being weakened and paralyzed, his spirit remained strong. This real-life example shows the resilience of incapacitated individuals. Have you ever been incapacitated or known someone who was? How did they manage? Share your story. Demur. To raise doubts or objections or show reluctance. Object. Protest. Hesitate. Challenge. Demurring the plan. Sarah demurred when her team suggested a risky strategy. She raised objections and hesitated to proceed. Her protests and challenges led to a thorough review of the plan. This real-life example shows the importance of voicing concerns. Have you ever demurred to an idea or plan? What was the result? Share your story. Appellation. A name or title. Designation. Title. Name. Label. The appellation of honor. The title of champion was an appellation of honor for the athlete. This designation recognized her achievements, giving her a prestigious name. Her label as champion was worn with pride. This real-life example shows the significance of appellations. Have you ever received an appellation or known someone who did? What did it signify? Share your story. In apple pie order. In perfect order and neat arrangement. Organized. Neat. Tidy. Arranged. In apple pie order. Jane's room was always in apple pie order. Every item was organized, and her desk was neat and tidy. She took pride in maintaining an arranged space, ensuring everything was in its rightful place. This real-life example shows the satisfaction of keeping things in apple pie order. Do you prefer to keep things in apple pie order? How does it help you? Share your story. Escalation. A rapid increase or rise. Intensification. Increase. Growth. Expansion. The escalation of tension. The argument between the neighbors saw a rapid escalation. What started as a small dispute quickly intensified, with the conflict growing in magnitude. The escalation of tension led to an expansion of grievances on both sides. This real-life example shows how quickly situations can escalate. Have you ever witnessed an escalation of tension? How did it resolve? Share your story. Indifference. Lack of interest, concern, or sympathy. Apathy. Disinterest. Unconcern. Insensitivity. The indifference of the crowd. The speaker was met with indifference from the crowd. Their apathy and disinterest were palpable, showing a complete lack of concern for the topic. The insensitivity of the audience left the speaker disheartened. This real-life example highlights the impact of indifference. Have you ever faced indifference in a significant moment? How did you deal with it? Share your story. Potential. Having or showing the capacity to develop into something in the future. Possibility. Capability. Promise. Prospect. Unlocking potential. Emily's teacher saw great potential in her artwork. She recognized the possibility and capability. Emily had to become a renowned artist. Her promise was evident, and the prospect of a bright future was clear. This real-life example shows the importance of recognizing and nurturing potential. Have you ever recognized potential in yourself or others? What did you do about it? Share your story. Cumulative. Increasing or increased in quantity, degree, or force by successive additions. Accumulative. Growing. Increasing. Collective. Cumulative efforts. The team's cumulative efforts led to the project's success. Each member's contributions were accumulative, growing the project's impact. The increasing collaboration resulted in a collective achievement. This real-life example shows the power of cumulative efforts. Have you ever been part of a cumulative effort? What was the result? Share your story. Recondite. Little known, abstruse. Obscure. Arcane. Esoteric. Cryptic. The recondite manuscript. The scholar found a recondite manuscript in the ancient library. Its obscure language and arcane references made it difficult to understand. This esoteric document held cryptic knowledge from a bygone era. This real-life example shows the intrigue of recondite discoveries. Have you ever come across something recondite? How did you decipher it? Share your story. Apple polishing. Attempting to win favor through flattery. Flattering. Fawning. Sycophantic. Ingratiating. Apple polishing in the office. Tom was known for his apple polishing at work. His flattering remarks and fawning behavior towards his boss were noticed by everyone. This sycophantic attitude, though ingratiating, often backfired. This real-life example shows the pitfalls of excessive apple polishing. Have you ever encountered or engaged in apple polishing? What were the outcomes? Share your story. Palliate. Make a disease or its symptoms less severe or unpleasant without removing the cause. Alleviate. ease, relieve, mitigate, palliating the pain. The doctor prescribed medication to palliate the patient's pain. Though it couldn't cure the illness, it alleviated the symptoms, making the patient more comfortable. The relief brought a sense of ease, mitigating the severity of the condition. This real-life example shows the importance of palliative care. Have you ever had to palliate pain or discomfort? How did it help? Share your story. Delude. To mislead the mind or judgment of, deceive. Deceive. Mislead. Fool. Trick. Deluded by false promises. Mark was deluded by the company's false promises of quick wealth. He was deceived and misled into investing all his savings. The trick left him financially ruined, teaching him a hard lesson about being cautious. This real-life example shows the dangers of being deluded. Have you ever been deluded by false promises? What did you learn from the experience? Share your story. Prelude. An action or event serving as an introduction to something more important. Introduction. Overture. Foreword. Prologue. Prelude to success. The small town's success in hosting the regional fair was a prelude to their larger ambitions. This event served as an introduction to their capabilities. The overture to future successes, the fair acted as a foreword to a promising era. This real-life example shows how preludes can set the stage for bigger achievements. Have you ever experienced or witnessed a prelude to something significant? What was it? Share your story. Chimerical. Existing only as the product of unchecked imagination, fantastically visionary or improbable. Imaginary. Fantastical. Unreal. Illusory. Chimerical dreams. As a child, Emily's chimerical dreams were filled with fantastical adventures. These imaginary tales took her to unreal places, fueled by her boundless imagination. The illusory world she created brought endless joy and creativity. This real-life example shows the magic of chimerical dreams. Have you ever had chimerical dreams or ideas? How did they inspire you? Share your story. Acknowledge. To accept or admit the existence or truth of. Recognize. Admit. Confess. Concede. Acknowledging mistakes. After a heated argument, Sarah decided to acknowledge her mistakes. She recognized where she went wrong and admitted her faults to her friend. By confessing and conceding, she was able to mend the relationship. This real-life example shows the importance of acknowledging our errors to build stronger bonds. Have you ever had to acknowledge a mistake? How did it improve the situation? Share your story. Draconian. Excessively harsh and severe. Harsh. Severe. Strict. Rigid. The draconian rules. The new school principal implemented draconian rules. These harsh and severe regulations were met with resistance. The strict and rigid policies left students feeling oppressed. This real-life example shows the impact of draconian measures on morale. Have you ever experienced draconian rules? How did you cope with them? Share your story. Heterogeneous. Diverse in character or content. Diverse. Varied. Mixed. Different. The heterogeneous team. The project team was heterogeneous, composed of members from diverse backgrounds. This varied group brought a wealth of mixed ideas and different perspectives. Their diversity became their strength. This real-life example shows the benefits of a heterogeneous team. Have you ever been part of a heterogeneous group? How did the diversity contribute to success? Share your story. Gamut. The complete range or scope of something. Range. Spectrum. Extent. Scope. The gamut of emotions. Watching the play, Emily felt the full gamut of emotions. The actors' performances covered the entire range, from joy to sorrow. The spectrum of feelings kept the audience engaged, showcasing the extent and scope of human experience. This real-life example shows the power of exploring the gamut of emotions. Have you ever experienced the gamut of emotions in a single event? What triggered it? Share your story. Perspicacious. Having a ready insight into and understanding of things. Insightful. Perceptive. Astute. Shrewd. The perspicacious detective. Detective Jane was known for her perspicacious nature. Her insightful observations and perceptive analysis helped solve complex cases. Her astute mind and shrewd instincts made her an exceptional investigator. This real-life example shows the value of being perspicacious in problem solving. Have you ever known someone perspicacious? How did their insight help? Share your story. Analogous. Comparable in certain respects, typically in a way that makes clearer the nature of the things compared. Similar. Comparable. Parallel. Equivalent. Analogous situations. Mark found that managing a team was analogous to coaching a sports team. The similar challenges and comparable dynamics made the situations parallel. This equivalent understanding helped him apply effective strategies. This real-life example shows how analogous situations can provide clarity. Have you ever found analogous situations helpful in understanding a concept? What were they? Share your story. Maladjusted. Failing to cope with the demands of a normal social environment. Unstable. Troubled. Dysfunctional. Unbalanced. Helping the maladjusted. Tom struggled with being maladjusted in social settings. His unstable behavior and troubled interactions made it hard to fit in. With the help of therapy, he learned to overcome his dysfunctional habits and find balance. This real-life example shows the journey of helping the maladjusted. Have you ever had to support someone maladjusted? What steps did you take? Share your story. Distaff side. The female side of a family. Maternal. Female. Motherly. Women. The distaff side. During the family reunion, the distaff side shared their cherished recipes and stories. The maternal wisdom and female perspectives enriched the gathering. Their motherly care brought warmth, highlighting the strength of the women in the family. This real-life example shows the importance of the distaff side in family heritage. Have you ever learned something valuable from the distaff side of your family? What was it? Share your story. Disparate. Essentially different in kind, not allowing comparison. Different. Dissimilar. Unalike. Distinct. The disparate cultures. The conference brought together delegates from disparate cultures. Their different traditions and dissimilar customs created a rich tapestry of unalike experiences. Each distinct viewpoint contributed to a broader understanding of global diversity. This real-life example shows how disparate cultures can coexist and learn from each other. Have you ever interacted with disparate cultures? What did you learn from the experience? Share your story. Phenomenon. A fact or situation that is observed to exist or happen, especially one whose cause or explanation is in question. Event. Occurrence. Happening. Wonder. The phenomenon of the Northern Lights. Witnessing the Northern Lights was a breathtaking phenomenon. The event left viewers in awe of its beauty. This occurrence, an astonishing happening, was a natural wonder that sparked curiosity and admiration. This real-life example shows the magic of experiencing a phenomenal event. Have you ever witnessed a phenomenon that left you amazed? What was it? Share your story. Mortality. The state of being subject to death. Death. Fatality. Lifespan. Impermanence. Facing mortality. The sudden illness made Tom confront his own mortality. He realized that death is an inevitable part of life. This awareness of his fatality made him appreciate his lifespan and the impermanence of existence. This real-life example shows the profound impact of understanding mortality. Have you ever had to face your own or someone else's mortality? How did it change your perspective? Share your story. Decade. A period of 10 years. 10 years. Decennium. 10-year span. Decadal. A decade of growth. Over the past decade, Sarah transformed her small business into a thriving enterprise. This 10-year journey, or decennium, was marked by hard work and perseverance. Her success over the 10-year span showcased the potential of consistent effort. This real-life example shows the significant changes that can happen in a decade. Have you ever witnessed significant changes over a decade? What were they? Share your story. Susceptible. Likely or liable to be influenced or harmed by a particular thing. Vulnerable. Prone. Sensitive. Receptive. Susceptible to influence. Jane realized she was susceptible to peer pressure. Her vulnerability made her prone to following others' decisions. Being sensitive to her environment, she learned to be more discerning and receptive to positive influences. This real-life example shows how susceptibility can shape behavior. Have you ever been susceptible to influence? How did you manage it? Share your story. Neurotic. Suffering from, caused by, or relating to neurosis. Anxious. Nervous. compulsive, obsessive. The neurotic artist. Mark was a neurotic artist, constantly anxious about his work. His nervous tendencies and compulsive behavior often interfered with his creativity. However, his obsessive attention to detail also produced masterpieces. This real-life example shows the dual nature of neurotic tendencies. Have you ever dealt with or known someone with neurotic tendencies? How did it affect their work? Share your story. On the qui-vive. On the alert or lookout. Vigilant. Watchful. Alert. Attentive. On the qui-vive. The security guard was always on the qui-vive during his night shifts. His vigilance and watchful eyes ensured the safety of the premises. By staying alert and attentive, he prevented several potential incidents. This real-life example shows the importance of being on the qui-vive. Have you ever had to be on the qui-vive for an extended period? How did it affect you? Share your story. Pedagogue. A teacher, especially a strict or pedantic one. Instructor. Educator. Tutor. Mentor. The strict pedagogue. Mr. Thompson was a strict pedagogue, known for his rigorous teaching methods. As an instructor, his dedication to education was unmatched. Despite his pedantic ways, many students appreciated him as a tutor and mentor. This real-life example shows the influence of a dedicated pedagogue. Have you ever had a pedagogue who impacted your learning? What was your experience like? Share your story. Enunciate. Say or pronounce clearly. Pronounce. Articulate. Express. Vocalize. Learning to enunciate. Emma's speech therapist helped her enunciate words clearly. By practicing pronunciation and articulating sounds, she improved her ability to express herself. This vocalization made her more confident in public speaking. This real-life example shows the benefits of learning to enunciate. Have you ever had to improve your enunciation? How did it help you? Share your story. Inordinate. Unusually or disproportionately large, excessive. Excessive. Exorbitant. Overabundant. Extravagant. Inordinate ambitions. Tom's inordinate ambitions often led him to take on more than he could handle. His excessive goals and exorbitant plans were sometimes unrealistic. Despite his overabundant enthusiasm, he learned to balance his extravagant dreams with practical steps. This real-life example shows the challenges of managing inordinate ambitions. Have you ever set inordinate goals for yourself? How did you balance them? Share your story. Irascible. Having or showing a tendency to be easily angered. Irritable. Quick-tempered. Hot-headed. Cranky. The irascible neighbor. Mr. Green was known as the irascible neighbor. His irritable nature and quick-tempered reactions often led to disputes. Despite his hot-headed demeanor, his cranky behavior masked a kind heart. This real-life example shows the complexity of irascible personalities. Have you ever interacted with someone irascible? How did you navigate the relationship? Share your story. Introspective. Characterized by or given to introspection. Reflective. Thoughtful. Inward-looking. Meditative. The introspective writer. Emily was an introspective writer, spending hours reflecting on her thoughts. Her reflective nature and thoughtful approach to her work made her writing profound. By being inward-looking and meditative, she crafted stories that resonated deeply with readers. This real-life example shows the power of introspection in creativity. Do you find introspection helpful in your creative process? How does it influence your work? Share your story. To get one's back up. To become angry or annoyed. Annoy. Irritate. Aggravate. Upset. Getting his back up. When Tom's colleague criticized his work unjustly, it really got his back up. The unwarranted comments annoyed and irritated him. Though he tried to stay calm, the aggravation was clear, and he couldn't hide his upset feelings. This real-life example shows how easy it is to get one's back up in stressful situations. Have you ever had your back up over something? How did you handle it? Share your story. Perpetuate. Make something continue indefinitely. Sustain. Maintain. Preserve. Keep going. Perpetuating traditions. The community worked hard to perpetuate their cultural traditions. By sustaining ancient customs and maintaining rituals, they preserved their heritage. This effort to keep traditions going ensured their continuation for future generations. This real-life example shows the importance of perpetuating cultural practices. Have you ever been involved in perpetuating a tradition? How did you contribute? Share your story. Mandate. An official order or commission to do something. Directive. Instruction. Command. Order. The new mandate. The government issued a new mandate requiring all citizens to recycle. This directive aimed to reduce waste and promote sustainability. The instruction was clear, and the command was followed with a sense of responsibility. This real-life example shows the impact of mandates on public behavior. Have you ever had to follow a mandate? How did it change your actions? Share your story. Compensatory. Intended to make up for something. Recompense. Reparation. Redress. Restorative. Compensatory actions. After the unfair dismissal, the company took compensatory actions to address the issue. They provided recompense and offered reparations to the affected employee. These redress efforts were restorative, aiming to make amends. This real-life example shows the importance of compensatory measures in resolving conflicts. Have you ever received or offered compensatory actions? What was the outcome? Share your story. Neutralize. Render something ineffective or harmless by applying an opposite force or effect. Counteract. Nullify. Offset. Cancel out. Neutralizing the threat. The security team worked quickly to neutralize the cyber threat. By counteracting the attack, they nullified its impact. Their efforts to offset the damage and cancel out the threat ensured data safety. This real-life example shows the critical role of neutralizing threats in cybersecurity. Have you ever had to neutralize a problem? How did you manage it? Share your story. Catastrophic. Involving or causing sudden great damage or suffering. Disastrous. Devastating. Ruinous. Calamitous. The catastrophic flood. The town faced a catastrophic flood, with disastrous consequences. Homes were devastated, and the ruinous impact left many in despair. This calamitous event highlighted the need for better disaster preparedness. This real-life example shows the severity of catastrophic events. Have you ever experienced a catastrophic event? How did it affect you and your community? Share your story. To bring home the bacon. To earn money for a household. Provide. Earn. Support. Finance. Bringing home the bacon. Mark worked tirelessly to bring home the bacon for his family. As the primary provider, he earned a steady income to support their needs. His efforts to finance their lifestyle were appreciated by all. This real-life example shows the responsibilities of bringing home the bacon. Have you ever been responsible for bringing home the bacon? How did you manage it? Share your story. Anthropologist. A person who studies human societies and cultures and their development. Ethnologist. Sociologist. Cultural scientist. Humanologist. The dedicated anthropologist. Emma was a dedicated anthropologist, fascinated by diverse cultures. Her work as an ethnologist involved studying human societies, while her role as a sociologist provided insights into social structures. As a cultural scientist, she explored traditions, making her a true humanologist. This real-life example shows the passion and dedication of anthropologists. Do you have an interest in anthropology or know someone who does? What aspects do you find most intriguing? Share your story. Artifact. An object made by a human being, typically of cultural or historical interest. Relic. Antiquity. Heirloom. Historical object. The mysterious artifact. While exploring the old ruins, Emma stumbled upon a mysterious artifact. This relic from ancient times was a fascinating piece of antiquity. As she held the heirloom in her hands, she wondered about the historical object's past. This real-life example shows how artifacts connect us to history. Have you ever discovered or seen an intriguing artifact? What was its story? Share your experience. Bizarre. Very strange or unusual. Weird. Unusual. Peculiar. Odd. A bizarre encounter. On her way home, Jane had a bizarre encounter with a man dressed as a chicken. This weird and unusual sight made her laugh, though it was quite peculiar. The odd experience remained a funny memory. This real-life example shows how bizarre moments can add excitement to daily life. Have you ever had a bizarre encounter? What happened? Share your story. Fetish. An inanimate object worshipped for its supposed magical powers or because it is considered to be inhabited by a spirit. Obsession. Fixation. Compulsion. Mania. The ancient fetish. The villagers believed the ancient stone held magical powers, making it a fetish. Their obsession with the stone led to a fixation on its supposed abilities. This compulsion turned into a mania, deeply ingrained in their culture. This real-life example shows how fetishes can influence beliefs. Have you ever encountered a cultural or personal fetish? How did it affect you or those around you? Share your story. Inanimate. Not alive, especially not in the manner of animals and humans. Lifeless. Motionless. Static. Non-living. The inanimate companion. Emily often talked to her inanimate teddy bear, treating it like a friend. Though lifeless and motionless, the bear provided her with comfort. This static, non-living companion was an essential part of her childhood. This real-life example shows the emotional attachment to inanimate objects. Have you ever had an inanimate object that held significant meaning for you? What was it? Share your story. To get down off a high horse. To stop behaving as if you are better or smarter than other people. Humble oneself. Show humility. Be modest. Step down. Getting down off his high horse. Mark's friends finally convinced him to get down off his high horse. He humbled himself, showing humility in being modest about his achievements. Stepping down from his arrogant behavior, he became more approachable. This real-life example shows the importance of humility. Have you ever needed to get down off a high horse or seen someone who did? What was the result? Share your story. Imperative. Of vital importance, crucial. Essential. Necessary. Urgent. Critical. The imperative decision. Sarah faced an imperative decision regarding her career. It was essential to choose the right path, as it was necessary for her future success. The urgency of the situation made it a critical moment in her life. This real-life example shows the significance of imperative choices. Have you ever had to make an imperative decision? What was the outcome? Share your story. Imprudent. Not showing care for the consequences of an action, rash. Reckless. Foolish. Careless. Thoughtless. The imprudent choice. Tom made an imprudent decision to invest all his savings in a risky venture. His reckless move and foolish optimism led to significant financial loss. This careless and thoughtless action taught him a valuable lesson. This real-life example shows the consequences of imprudence. Have you ever made an imprudent decision? How did you handle the aftermath? Share your story. Prohibition. The action of forbidding something, especially by law. Ban. Forbidding. Restriction. Interdiction. The Prohibition era. During the Prohibition era, the government banned alcohol sales. This legal forbidding led to a surge in illegal activities. The restriction and interdiction shaped an entire generation's behavior. This real-life example shows the impact of prohibitions on society. Have you ever experienced or known about a prohibition? What were its effects? Share your story. Taboo. A social or religious custom prohibiting or restricting a particular practice or forbidding association with a particular person, place, or thing. Prohibition. Ban. Restriction. Forbidden. Breaking the taboo. In her conservative community, talking about mental health was a taboo. Despite the prohibition, Emma decided to break the ban and discuss her struggles openly. This restriction was challenging to overcome, but it was necessary. This real-life example shows the courage it takes to challenge taboos. Have you ever faced a taboo that you wanted to break? How did you approach it? Share your story. Taint. A trace of a bad or undesirable quality or substance. Stain. Spoil. Tarnish. Contaminate. The tainted reputation. The scandal tainted the politician's reputation. This stain on his character was hard to remove. The spoil of public trust and the tarnish of his image left a lasting impact. This real-life example shows how a taint can affect credibility. Have you ever had to deal with a taint on your reputation or known someone who did? How was it managed? Share your story. First water. Of the best quality, the highest grade. Top-notch. Excellent. Supreme. Best. A gem of the first water. The diamond was considered a gem of the first water, known for its top-notch quality. This excellent stone, with its supreme clarity and brilliance, was the best in the collection. This real-life example shows the allure of objects of the first water. Have you ever encountered something of the first water? What made it stand out? Share your story. Abhor. Regard with disgust and hatred. Detest. Loathe. Despise. Hate. Abhorring injustice. Jane abhorred any form of injustice. She couldn't stand to see people being treated unfairly. Her detest for inequality drove her to fight for the loathed and despised practices in her community. This real-life example shows the power of abhorring negative behaviors to bring about change. Have you ever abhorred something so strongly that it pushed you to take action? Share your story. Absurd. Wildly unreasonable, illogical, or inappropriate. Ridiculous. Preposterous. Ludicrous. Foolish. An absurd situation. Tom found himself in an absurd situation when he realized he was wearing mismatched shoes to an important meeting. The ridiculous sight made everyone laugh. Though preposterous and ludicrous, it was a foolish mistake that lightened the mood. This real-life example shows how absurd moments can bring humor. Have you ever been in an absurd situation? How did it turn out? Share your story. Contemptuous. Showing contempt, scornful. Disdainful. Scornful. Disrespectful. Sneering. The contemptuous glare. Sarah's contemptuous glare was unmistakable when she saw the litter in the park. Her disdainful look and scornful expression made it clear that she disapproved. This disrespectful attitude towards the environment was met with her sneering disapproval. This real-life example shows the impact of contemptuous behavior on societal norms. Have you ever felt or shown contemptuous feelings toward something? What was it? Share your story. Universal. Applicable to all cases. Global. Worldwide. Common. General. Universal appeal. The movie's universal appeal made it a worldwide hit. Its global themes and common human experiences resonated with audiences everywhere. This general acceptance showed how stories could connect people across cultures. This real-life example shows the power of universal themes in media. Have you ever experienced something with universal appeal? What was it? Share your story. Dyed in the wool. Unchanging in a particular belief or opinion, inveterate. Stubborn. Unyielding. Uncompromising. Inflexible. A dyed-in-the-wool fan. Mark was a dyed-in-the-wool fan of his favorite football team. His stubborn support never wavered, even during losing seasons. Unyielding and uncompromising, his inflexible loyalty was admirable. This real-life example shows the strength of dyed-in-the-wool dedication. Have you ever been a dyed-in-the-wool supporter of something? How did it shape your actions? Share your story. Vulnerable. Susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm. Exposed. Defenseless. Fragile. Weak. Feeling vulnerable. After sharing her deepest fears, Emma felt vulnerable. This exposure made her feel defenseless and fragile. Though it was a moment of weakness, it also brought her closer to her friends. This real-life example shows the strength in vulnerability. Have you ever felt vulnerable? How did it impact your relationships? Share your story. Entreaty. An earnest or humble request. Plea. Appeal. Petition. Supplication. A mother's entreaty. The mother's entreaty to the school board was heartfelt. Her plea for better safety measures came from genuine concern. This appeal, supported by a petition, was a humble supplication for change. This real-life example shows the power of entreaty in advocating for important causes. Have you ever made an entreaty for something important? What was the outcome? Share your story. Tradition. The transmission of customs or beliefs from generation to generation. Custom. Practice. Ritual. Convention. Family tradition. Every year, Sarah's family celebrated the Harvest Festival, a tradition passed down for generations. This custom involved unique practices and rituals that kept their heritage alive. The convention was a cherished part of their culture. This real-life example shows the value of preserving traditions. Do you have any traditions in your family or community? How do they bring people together? Share your story. Originate. Have a specified beginning. Begin. Start. Arise. Initiate. Where it all originates. The charity's mission originated from a simple idea to help the needy. This beginning grew into a widespread movement. The initiative started with a few dedicated volunteers and soon arose to make a significant impact. This real-life example shows the potential of small beginnings. Have you ever been part of something that originated from a simple idea? What was it? Share your story. Inviolable. Never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored. Sacred. Untouchable. Unbreakable. Hallowed. Inviolable values. The community held certain values as inviolable. These sacred principles were untouchable and unbreakable. The hallowed traditions were respected by all, ensuring their preservation for future generations. This real-life example shows the strength of inviolable beliefs. Do you have any inviolable values or principles? How do they guide your actions? Share your story. Blue chip. A highly valuable asset, stock, or investment. High quality. Premium. Top tier. Excellent. Investing in blue chips. Emma decided to invest in blue chip stocks known for their high-quality performance. These premium investments were top-tier and excellent choices for long-term gains. This real-life example shows the benefits of choosing blue-chip assets for financial security. Have you ever invested in or relied on something blue-chip? What was your experience? Share your story. Awesome. Extremely impressive or daunting, inspiring great admiration, apprehension, or fear. Impressive. Breathtaking. Astonishing. Majestic. The awesome view. Standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, Tom was struck by the awesome view. The impressive landscape stretched out before him, breathtaking in its vastness. This astonishing sight left him in awe, truly appreciating the majestic beauty of nature. This real-life example shows how awesome experiences can leave lasting impressions. Have you ever witnessed an awesome view? What was it like? Share your story. Debris. Scattered fragments, typically of something wrecked or destroyed. Rubble. Fragments. Wreckage. Litter. Clearing the debris. After the storm, the town was covered in debris. Rubble from damaged buildings, scattered fragments of trees, and wreckage of vehicles littered the streets. The community came together to clear the debris, showing the power of unity. This real-life example highlights the aftermath of natural disasters. Have you ever helped clear debris after a disaster? How did it feel? Share your experience. Dispersed. Distribute or spread over a wide area. Scattered. Spread. Distributed. Disseminated. The dispersed seeds. The wind dispersed the seeds across the field. They were scattered far and wide, spreading new life wherever they landed. This natural distribution ensured the growth of a diverse ecosystem. This real-life example shows the beauty of dispersed elements in nature. Have you ever observed the dispersal of seeds or other elements in nature? What did you notice? Share your story. Eruption. An act or instance of erupting. Outburst. Explosion. Burst. Emission. The volcanic eruption. The volcanic eruption was both terrifying and mesmerizing. The outburst of lava and ash exploded into the sky, causing a massive burst of energy. This emission of molten rock reshaped the landscape. This real-life example shows the raw power of natural eruptions. Have you ever witnessed or learned about a volcanic eruption? What did you find fascinating? Share your story. Puny. Small and weak. Feeble. Weak. Frail. Tiny. The puny sapling. The puny sapling struggled to survive in the harsh environment. Feeble and weak, it faced many challenges. Despite being frail and tiny, it persisted and eventually grew into a strong tree. This real-life example shows how even puny beginnings can lead to great growth. Have you ever seen something puny grow into something strong? What was it? Share your story. Obliterate. Destroy utterly, wipe out. Annihilate. Demolish. Erase. Eradicate. Obliterating the evidence. The storm obliterated all traces of the old cabin. It annihilated the structure, demolishing it completely. The remnants were erased from existence, as if they had never been there. This real-life example shows the power of obliteration in nature. Have you ever witnessed something being obliterated? What was the impact? Share your story. Deplorable. Deserving strong condemnation, shockingly bad in quality. Appalling. Dreadful. Terrible. Awful. The deplorable conditions. The living conditions in the old building were deplorable. The appalling state of the apartments was shocking, with dreadful maintenance and terrible hygiene. This awful situation called for immediate action to improve the residents' lives. This real-life example shows the urgency of addressing deplorable conditions. Have you ever encountered deplorable conditions? How did you address them? Share your story. Initiate. Cause, a process or action, to begin. Start. Commence. Launch. Begin. Initiating the project. Sarah was chosen to initiate the new project at work. She started the process with enthusiasm, ready to commence the tasks ahead. By launching the project, she set the groundwork for future success. This real-life example shows the importance of taking the initiative. Have you ever initiated a project or idea? How did it unfold? Share your story. Conflagration. An extensive fire that destroys a great deal of land or property. Blaze. Inferno. Wildfire. Firestorm. The forest conflagration. The forest conflagration spread rapidly, turning the lush greenery into a blazing inferno. The wildfire consumed everything in its path, creating a massive firestorm. This real-life example shows the destructive power of conflagrations and the need for effective firefighting measures. Have you ever seen or learned about a major conflagration? How did it affect the area? Share your story. Rue. Bitterly regret something one has done or allowed to happen. Regret. Lament. Repent. Feel remorse. Rueing a decision. After missing his friend's wedding, Tom began to rue his decision to prioritize work over personal commitments. He deeply regretted it and lamented his choice. His repentance for not being there to share a special moment was palpable. This real-life example shows the emotional impact of ruining a decision. Have you ever rued a decision? How did you cope with the regret? Share your story. Blow hot and cold. To be indecisive or inconsistent. Waver. Vacillate. Fluctuate. Sway. Blowing hot and cold. Jane's feelings about moving to a new city made her blow hot and cold. One moment she was excited, the next she wavered in doubt. Her vacillating thoughts and fluctuating emotions made it hard to make a final decision. This real-life example shows the challenges of indecision. Have you ever blown hot and cold over something? How did you finally decide? Share your story. Imagination. The faculty or action of forming new ideas, or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. Creativity. Inventiveness. Fantasy. Vision. The power of imagination. Emily's imagination transformed her mundane life into a world of adventure. Her creativity allowed her to invent fantastical stories and visions. This inventiveness made her days filled with joy and wonder. This real-life example shows the limitless power of imagination. How has imagination played a role in your life? Share a creative moment. Congenial. Pleasant because of a personality, qualities, or interests that are similar to one's own. Friendly. Agreeable. Amiable. Pleasant. A congenial meeting. Mark found a congenial friend in his new colleague. Their friendly and agreeable personalities matched well, making their interactions amiable and pleasant. This real-life example shows the joy of finding congenial relationships. Have you ever met someone congenial? How did you connect? Share your story. Hoard. A stock or store of money or valued objects, typically one that is secret or carefully guarded. Stockpile. Accumulate. Amass. Gather. The hidden hoard. Sarah's grandmother had a secret hoard of old coins. Over the years, she had stockpiled them, accumulating a valuable collection. This amassed treasure was carefully guarded, revealing a fascinating piece of family history. This real-life example shows the significance of hoarding cherished items. Have you ever discovered or created a hoard of valuable items? What was the story behind it? Share your experience. Sage. A profoundly wise person, especially one who features in ancient history or legend. Wise. Scholarly. Learned. Enlightened. The sage's advice. In the heart of the village, there lived a sage known for his wisdom. His learned teachings and scholarly insights were sought by all. The enlightened community benefited greatly from his guidance. This real-life example shows the impact of sage advice on personal growth. Have you ever received advice from a sage or wise person? How did it help you? Share your story. Aegis. The protection, backing, or support of a particular person or organization. Protection. Shield. Sponsorship. Guard. Under the aegis. The festival was held under the aegis of the local cultural society. Their protection and sponsorship ensured the event's success. With their shield and guard, the community celebrated safely and joyfully. This real-life example shows the importance of aegis in organizing events. Have you ever been under the aegis of a supportive entity? What difference did it make? Share your story. Detriment. The state of being harmed or damaged. Harm. Damage. Injury. Loss. The detriment of neglect. The neglect of the historic building led to its detriment. The harm was evident in the crumbling walls and damaged roof. This injury to a cultural landmark was a significant loss for the community. This real-life example shows the impact of neglect and detriment on heritage. Have you ever seen something suffer detriment due to neglect? What was the outcome? Share your story. In the doldrums. A state of inactivity or stagnation. Stagnant. Sluggish. Inactive. Lethargic. In the doldrums. After the big project ended, the team found themselves in the doldrums. Their work felt stagnant, and their days sluggish. Feeling inactive and lethargic, they needed a new challenge to reignite their motivation. This real-life example shows the impact of being in the doldrums. Have you ever felt in the doldrums? How did you overcome it? Share your story. Longevity. Long life or long existence or service. Durability. Lifespan. Endurance. Long-lasting. The secret to longevity. Grandma's secret to longevity was her active lifestyle and positive attitude. Her durability and long lifespan amazed everyone. She attributed her endurance to a balanced diet and regular exercise, enjoying long-lasting health. This real-life example shows the factors contributing to longevity. Do you know someone with impressive longevity? What do you think contributed to it? Share your story. Imbibe. To drink, especially alcohol. Drink. Consume. Ingest. Swallow. Imbibing the culture. During the festival, Mark imbibed the local traditions and customs. He didn't just drink the traditional beverages, he consumed the entire cultural experience. By ingesting and swallowing the atmosphere, he felt a deep connection to the heritage. This real-life example shows the immersive nature of imbibing culture. Have you ever imbibed in local customs or traditions? What was your experience? Share your story. Virile. Having strength, energy, and a strong sex drive, typically used of a man. Manly. Vigorous. Masculine. Potent. The virile athlete. John was known as the most virile athlete on the team. His manly physique and vigorous energy made him a standout player. With his masculine demeanor and potent abilities, he led his team to victory. This real-life example shows the qualities of virile individuals in sports. Have you ever admired someone's virile qualities? How did they inspire you? Share your story. Senile. Having or showing the weaknesses or diseases of old age, especially a loss of mental faculties. decrepit, doddering, feeble, aged. The senile elder. The community took care of their senile elder with great respect. Despite his decrepit state and doddering steps, they valued his wisdom. Though feeble and aged, his presence was cherished. This real-life example shows the care given to senile elders. Have you ever known someone who was senile? How did you help them? Share your story. Doddering. Trembling or tottering, typically because of old age. Shaky. Unsteady. Tottering. Wobbly. The doddering grandfather. Emily loved spending time with her doddering grandfather. Despite his shaky hands and unsteady steps, his stories captivated her. His tottering walk and wobbly voice were symbols of his rich experiences. This real-life example shows the charm of doddering elders. Have you ever spent time with a doddering elder? What did you learn from them? Share your story. Burn the midnight oil. To read, study, or work late into the night. Study late. Work late. Stay up late. Pull an all-nighter. Burning the midnight oil. Sarah had to burn the midnight oil to prepare for her exams. She studied late into the night, working hard to grasp every concept. Staying up late and pulling an all-nighter, she ensured she was well prepared. This real-life example shows the dedication required to achieve goals. Have you ever had to burn the midnight oil for something important? What was it for? Share your story. Lethargic. Affected by lethargy, sluggish and apathetic. Sluggish. Apathetic. Inactive. Listless. Feeling lethargic. After a long week of work, Mark felt lethargic on the weekend. He was sluggish and apathetic, unable to muster the energy for his usual activities. Feeling inactive and listless, he decided to rest and recharge. This real-life example shows the need for rest when feeling lethargic. Have you ever felt lethargic? What did you do to recover your energy? Share your story. Prevalent. Widespread in a particular area or at a particular time. Common. Widespread. Pervasive. Predominant. A prevalent issue. In the city, air pollution became a prevalent issue. The common occurrence of smog and its widespread effects concerned everyone. This pervasive problem required immediate action to address the predominant environmental threats. This real-life example shows the impact of prevalent issues on communities. Have you ever faced a prevalent issue in your area? How did the community respond? Share your story. Paramount. More important than anything else, supreme. Supreme. Principal. Foremost. Dominant. Paramount importance. For Jane, ensuring her family's safety was of paramount importance. This supreme concern guided her every decision. As the principal priority, it was foremost in her mind and dominant in her actions. This real-life example shows the weight of paramount concerns. Have you ever had something of paramount importance in your life? What was it? Share your story. Remiss. lacking care or attention to duty, negligent. Negligent. Careless. Lax. Slack. Remiss in duties. Tom realized he had been remiss in his duties at work. His negligent behavior and careless mistakes led to several issues. Being lax and slack, he knew he needed to improve his attention to detail. This real-life example shows the consequences of being remiss. Have you ever been remiss in your responsibilities? How did you address it? Share your story. Hostile. Unfriendly, antagonistic. Antagonistic. Unfriendly. Aggressive. Adversarial. Hostile environment. The new policy created a hostile work environment. The antagonistic attitudes and unfriendly interactions made it difficult to collaborate. This aggressive atmosphere and adversarial relations affected productivity. This real-life example shows the impact of a hostile environment on teamwork. Have you ever been in a hostile environment? How did you cope with it? Share your story. To split hairs. To make fine but unnecessary distinctions. Nitpick. Quibble. Overanalyze. Fuss. Splitting hairs. During the meeting, Mark kept splitting hairs over minor details. His tendency to nitpick and quibble frustrated his colleagues. Overanalyzing every point and fussing over small issues delayed progress. This real-life example shows how splitting hairs can hinder decision-making. Have you ever seen someone split hairs over trivial matters? How was it resolved? Share your story. Revoke. Put an end to the validity or operation of a decree, decision, or promise. Cancel. Rescind. Annul. Retract. Revoking the policy. The company decided to revoke the new policy after receiving negative feedback. This cancellation and rescission aimed to address employee concerns. By annulling the decision and retracting the policy, they hoped to restore trust. This real-life example shows the impact of revoking decisions. Have you ever had to revoke a decision or witnessed one being revoked? What were the effects? Share your story. Aversion. A strong dislike or disinclination. Dislike. Distaste. Hatred. Loathing. Overcoming aversion. Jane had a strong aversion to public speaking. Her dislike and distaste for it were evident. Despite her hatred and loathing, she decided to face her fears. With practice, she overcame her aversion and became a confident speaker. This real-life example shows the power of overcoming aversions. Have you ever had an aversion to something that you managed to overcome? What was it? Share your story. Evince. Reveal the presence of a quality or feeling. Demonstrate. Show. Manifest. Display. Evincing confidence. Tom evinced confidence during his presentation. He demonstrated his knowledge and showed his enthusiasm. By manifesting his passion and displaying his skills, he impressed the audience. This real-life example shows the importance of evincing positive qualities. Have you ever evinced a particular quality or feeling in a challenging situation? What was it? Share your story. Vogue. The prevailing fashion or style at a particular time. Trend. Fashion. Style. Craze. In vogue. Vintage fashion is back in vogue. The current trend embraces old styles, making them the latest fashion. This resurgence of style has created a new craze among fashion enthusiasts. This real-life example shows how vogues can change over time. Have you ever followed a particular vogue or trend? What was it? Share your story. Superficial. Existing or occurring at or on the surface. Shallow. Surface. External. Cosmetic. Superficial changes. The company's superficial changes were meant to improve its image. These shallow adjustments and surface-level improvements were mainly cosmetic. While external, they did little to address the core issues. This real-life example shows the limitations of superficial changes. Have you ever experienced superficial changes in any organization or situation? What was your reaction? Share your story. To strike while the iron is hot. To act quickly while the opportunity is still available. Act promptly. Seize the moment. Take advantage. Make hay. Striking while the iron is hot. When the stock prices dropped, Mark decided to strike while the iron was hot. He acted promptly, seizing the moment to invest. By taking advantage of the opportunity, he made significant gains. This real-life example shows the benefits of acting quickly. Have you ever struck while the iron was hot? What was the opportunity? Share your story. Jettison. To throw or drop something from an aircraft or ship. Discard. Drop. Dump. Throw away. Jettisoning the cargo. The crew had to jettison the cargo to lighten the ship during the storm. Discarding the heavy load and dropping unnecessary items helped stabilize the vessel. By dumping the excess weight, they ensured the ship's safety. This real-life example shows the critical decision of jettisoning in emergencies. Have you ever had to jettison something to achieve a goal? What was it? Share your story. Inevitable. Certain to happen, unavoidable. Unavoidable. Certain. Inescapable. Predestined. The inevitable outcome. Despite their efforts, the team knew the project's failure was inevitable. The unavoidable challenges and certain issues made success impossible. This inescapable fate and predestined outcome were accepted with grace. This real-life example shows how facing inevitable situations can build resilience. Have you ever faced an inevitable outcome? How did you handle it? Share your story. Lucrative. Producing a great deal of profit. Profitable. Money-making. Remunerative. High-paying. A lucrative opportunity. Jane discovered a lucrative opportunity in the tech industry. Her profitable venture quickly became a money-making enterprise. The remunerative business provided a high-paying salary and substantial rewards. This real-life example shows how lucrative opportunities can change lives. Have you ever come across a lucrative opportunity? What was it? Share your story.